So if you've got tension in your kind of in between your shoulder blades or the thoracic, there's a couple of real simple things that you can do. The first thing that you can do is to try and get some strength through there and get your lower traps to activate. Essentially what that does is help your shoulders come down and take tension from here. Is you can just simply lean over. There's heaps of different variations, but by leaning over, having your thumbs up and then making this come up through here, I'm forcing all of those muscles in my back, my lower trap and my rhomboids to start to work. And just by doing that, you can kind of get them to reactivate, and when they start to fatigue, they'll release and they'll feel better. So the different variations is you come straight out like this, that works a slightly different part of the rhomboids, a Y, and then if you're feeling really good, you can come all the way up like that. That's super easy and simple. You don't need to get onto the ground. You know, by the time you've done 5 or 10, you should be feeling a nice burn. It'll help you feel better, and it's really good for starting to help your shoulders as well and your neck. If you want to get on the ground, you can, and you can do it on the ground, and it's the same idea. But you know, I don't mind just bending over, because that also helps kind of work your lower back and get some more muscles through there. And you know, you can find a quiet spot at work and do that and not worry about getting dirty. So that'll help get some stimulation and some blood flow all the way through the thoracic, start having it feel better. And by doing that and those muscles fire, it'll allow your neck to relax. So if you're at work and your neck's really tense, that should even start to help there. If somebody's told you that you've got winging shoulder blades or your serratus anterior is not activating, there's thousands of ways that you can do it, but there's a really simple one that you can do at home. All you need is a towel that'll force that muscle to work and also help your rotator cuff go back into the right spot. So it's really good for all kinds of shoulder pain. It's really good for, because if serratus anterior starts to work, it allows your neck muscles to relax as well. So you have your towel, hold it like that, and then bring it in like that. So it's, you notice how it's about shoulder width, and I'm applying a little bit of force out. What that does is it forces a muscle called infraspinalis to start to work, and that will move that bone away from the, you can have infraspinalis, you'll have your supraspinalis tendon, move it away from that so it's not kind of getting jammed in the front, and also your biceps tendon. So it'll help take pressure off any pain in the front of the shoulder. Obviously speak to your healthcare professional, make sure it's appropriate for you, and you're not trying to rehab exercises, you're meant to feel better after and while you're doing it. So if it's causing more pain, it means they're not quite the right one for you, or you're not quite ready for it. Please seek help. This is just more for fun. So like this, and then I'm coming to the wall and I'm putting my elbows like this, and I'm not leaning on the wall, I'm just standing next to the wall, but then I'm pushing my shoulders forward like that, so my elbows touch. What that does is it forces my serratus anterior to fire, which is the one that kind of gets a little bit inactive when we're sitting and just in day-to-day life rehab a shoulder. So push that forward like that, and then making sure I've got force going outwards, so that bone's pulled away from the front of my shoulder. I just slowly and gently go up as far as I can, making sure that I keep my elbows on and I can feel that serratus anterior activate. So I want to feel that tension through there. Sometimes, you know, if you have a friend, you can get them to hold that muscle so you can feel it, but and just by coming up and down, nice and slowly, like you should start to feel burn surprisingly quickly, because it's a muscle that we don't normally use, and if it's not like activating properly, can fatigue quite quickly. So even just 10 to 30 seconds of doing this properly will force that muscle to work, and it will bring the shoulder down. So you should notice straight away that your shoulder pain reduces, or if you've got neck pain, it reduces, or if you're with a friend, you should actually see that your shoulders feel a little bit more protracted back, like you're in the right position. If you've got pain in between your shoulder blades, a lot of the time that could be because you don't have good thoracic mobility and it just gets a bit stuck, particularly if you're just at work, sitting all day, or you do lots of driving, you just get a little bit jammed. So someone a lot smarter than me figured out that if you can move a joint in one direction, it actually improves it in all of them. So the idea of threading the needle is to try and make there be some nice movement through your thoracic, and that'll free up the movement, help the muscles relax in general. So always be safe. You're meant to feel better after you're doing it, or even while you're doing it. So if it's sore, please stop, seek professional advice. But heaps of different ways you can do it. If that's not quite, if this is not stance is not comfortable for you, you can go down on your knees, on your elbows like that. But essentially, all you want to do is take this hand, and they call it thread the needle because you thread it through like that. And you go as far as you can. And that'll have a nice stretch for your rhomboids. Helps all the muscles open up in your spine, the joints open up in your spine. And it gets a nice little stretch for your lats. And then you're coming back up like that. Nice and easy. And then you're going to make sure you do the other side. By the time you've done that, 10 to 15, you should be starting to feel a lot freer and better. The other good thing about that is if you are on your hands like this or even on your knees, making sure that you're keeping that shoulder active is going to help your shoulder stability. It's just really good for your shoulders. So all the way through. Worker, or like you do lots of stuff to the front of your body, a lot of time your shoulders can kind of come forward and you can get a lot of pain through there. So depending on who you ask, they'll use different terms, but they'll say like, your rhomboids aren't strong enough, or they're not firing correctly. It doesn't so much matter. It's more about like if you can get some movement through there, and that movement helps reduce pain, helps improve your posture, then we'll say it's right for you. So the idea is, it's pretty simple, is essentially you want to imagine that you're bringing your shoulder blades back together so they're trying to touch, and then hold. Now, what you're naturally going to want to do, if you've got tight neck and shoulders, you'll naturally kind of want to do this because those muscles in the back, they just get a little bit lazy. So by imagining you putting your elbows in your pockets, it forces those to fire, and then by holding for 30 to 90 seconds and then repeating, you should start to feel warmer through that area, have them start to fire. And then if you're getting a little bit more advanced, then when you're doing, some people give you some banded work or you lift a weight, you're still imagining that you're bringing that back and then making sure you're activating down so you feel that kind of going through there. So if you've got a tight thoracic, as in pain between your shoulders, there's a really simple exercise taken from yoga called cat-cow. And all you do, start on all fours, and then you look up and you allow your spine to bend. So I assume that's your cow. And then you come back. I assume that's your cat. And what that's doing is it's starting to introduce some flexion and extension, particularly into the thoracic and the lower spine. Make sure you look after yourself. And that'll get some blood flow, get the muscles to relax. Once you're feeling better with that, the next level of that is you want to see if you can also go to the side, and then to the side. Up, down, and then when you're really advanced, you want to see if you can do it in a nice circle motion. So that's working all the intricate muscles, helping get some movement and some blood flow through all the joints, and then going back around the other way. Do that for a minute or two every day. You'll start feeling a lot freer in your thoracic. You feel pretty good. The next thing you want to do if you're trying to open up and release for your lats and for your thoracic is take it from your ankle child's pose. I don't really know why, but I imagine children sit like this. And it's essentially just this. So by having my arms forward like that, it forces some flexion into my thoracic, and it also kind of stretches some of those muscles up as my shoulder blades are forced forward. If I want to get more advanced, I just lift my hips up, and that forces more of a stretch. Obviously breathing in and then out, and then allowing that to lower each time. And that'll feel pretty good. Obviously walk your way back up. If you do have any shoulder issues, it can put a fair bit of pressure through your shoulders, so make sure you see if it's appropriate for you. Don't do anything that'll hurt yourself, but it's a nice way to get a nice relaxing stretch through that thoracic, particularly if you've been sitting like that all day or driving. It's something you can do really easy at home, kind of wind down at the end of the day. If you've got tight tension in between your shoulders, the easiest thing to do to help kind of with that is to get a little bit of mobility into your thoracic. It'll also help shoulder pain. The safest and easiest place to start is just by standing, putting your arms together, and then just looking over as far as you can, nice and slowly, and then come back the other way. It's not very often we do this. And particularly if you're looking at a screen all day or you're driving a lot, just doing this a few times, help get some movement through those kind of joints, help everything kind of open up and feel better. Alright, so if at the end, if you want to have like a nice easy stretch to get into your thoracic, you can either get one of those foam rollers, or if you happen to have a towel, works just as well. Just fold it a few times. Now depending on how much flexibility you have, can depend on how tightly you roll the towel. So I'm going to just do this like that. And that might be more than enough to get a nice little rounding through my spine. Let's put that down. And then I lay down, trying to get the towel around about where I'm sore. So for me, it's about here. And all I can do is just lean through there like that. If I want to have more of a stretch, I can add my arms over and then breathing in and out to make sure that releases. Once that feels pretty good, I can move just by shuffling myself forward. I can move to another spot. If I'm quite flexible for the spine and that's not enough, you can just roll two towels together and make that taller. And then working your way through really nicely. It's a nice way to kind of end the day, particularly if you've been at a desk all day, because it'll open up through the chest, help you breathe better and help you kind of wind down. Absolutely fantastic. So if you've got tight pecs or your shoulders are really rounded, there's we call it a doorway stretch, but basically to help that release through there, you find yourself a doorway or a wall, and then you just kind of hold it. Obviously be comfortable, please don't hurt yourself, but essentially that kind of angle like that, it lines up all the muscle fibers for pec minor that come onto that in your chest through here, so particularly if you're really tight through there, and it also lines up your bicep through that area. And then all you got to do is look away. By looking away, you're opening that up through there, you're getting a nice stretch. It's very rare that we do this ourselves during the day, so a lot of people, if they've been doing lots of sitting or driving, it can really open that up through there and then kind of help the neck. And if you're not quite hitting the stretch that you're after, all you got to do, walk your arm up, walk your arm down, and you'll find the fiber that you're after. If you've been working out, it's been big chest day and your pecs are tired, you can also make sure you get a nice release through your pecs like that. It's super simple. If you hold for 30 to 90 seconds, breathing and then releasing, the next time you should be able to come a little bit further. If it's a chronic tension that you've got, they've done some really good studies where if you do, at least 5 minutes of stretching per week, and that can be at different times, so a minute every work day, you should actually start to see some results. So it's just something nice and easy you can do for yourself in the morning or the evening, or if you've got a break at work. So if you've got some tension in between your thoracic, so in between your kind of shoulder blades through there, in Chinese medicine we think the whole body's interconnected. So you can, get a rolled up towel and lean on it at the end of the day. But another easy way that you can kind of look after yourself is just by massaging the inner part of your calf. So along the bone through here, you're probably going to find some nice kind of tender spots. So in Chinese medicine, this section here particularly is really strongly linked to between the shoulder blades. So if you start from your ankle and you come up, you're probably going to find a nice tender spot through here. This is around about liver 5 for us. And by just massaging through there and kind of holding, you should actually start to, as you feel this release, you should actually start to feel a little bit better in between your shoulder blades. And then coming and then going a little bit further to the next one, through there. I have a nice tight spot through there and through there. So the idea is the Chinese imagine that this bone can have a strong link and represent the entire spine. So a little bit closer down here can mean the neck, and then coming more further towards the lower back, or even the opposite. So just by massaging all the way along through here, finding all the nice tight sore bits, getting them to release, you feel a lot better.
Is it on either calf?
Yeah, so typically we'll say start on the opposite, but obviously make sure you do both. So you can do that as you're kind of winding down at the end of the day. Do a couple of little exercises or lay on the ball or the rolled up towel for a little bit. You're going to feel a lot better. Good question.